Alright guys, hello and welcome to another episode of the Dragon Yawn. I'm your host, Sifu Mike.
I'm Robert Aldrich.
And today we're going to be talking about Kung Fu Panda, but first I'm going to give out a shout out to our good sponsors, the good people at Tactical Kung Fu and Mixed Martial Arts, located in Durham, North Carolina, a place where you can learn everything as far as martial arts is concerned, and maybe some odd stuff. Like I once told a person about how to do sales tax. It was weird. Anyways, so yeah, I know. So we have a lot of techniques here. It's really cool. We also have a lot of awesome people. Okay, that's another good reason why you want to come out here, is because we have a community unlike any place in the world, because this is the only place in the world that has me.
It's true.
Yes.
That and Harris Teeter.
Yes.
Depending on the day you're shopping for groceries.
Yeah. So, like I said, I wanted to talk about our shout out Tactical Kung Fu. Definitely come by. Check them out.
The largest Kachikembo school in North Carolina?
Yes. Yeah. We definitely are. So
there we go.
And we also have Kempo Jetsu.
Mm-hmm.
So you can earn rank in 2 different things here. So we're that awesome. Also, want to get about another shout out to our current writer, right? Rob is a writer. So Rob, do tell us what is new in the wonderful world of the written word.
Check out teachthesky.com. That's my website. There is a new short story. It'll be a new short story this coming Friday. New short story the first Friday of every month. New books when they get finished.
He's better at writing the short stories.
It's yeah, but that took a long time. The new book in development is the sequel to Rest for the Wicked, but shh, nobody knows, so just keep that to yourself. And we don't have a timetable on that, but it should be soon-ish. And yeah.
What? Talk about your current book.
Oh!
Rikaiju!
Oh, Rikaiju! I'm so very sorry. I misunderstood the context. Yes, Rikaiju, yes. A lovely tale of a young girl who saved the world through the power of rock and roll and a giant lizard. It is a coming-of-age story, an adventure story, an exploration story, but mostly had the giant lizard. So, I mean, really, what more do you want in literature? Like, character growth? Nobody wants character growth. Exploration of moral relationships between us and those around us? No, you want giant lizards stomping through crap. So, we got you covered.
And the sequel to that book, the lizard's going to evolve to a dragon.
Since I haven't finished it yet, I can't say emphatically that that's not true. I just have seen the outline, and I know that's not true.
I'm just so advocating.
You really want a dragon in that story.
I really do. I really do.
We will make a dragon happen in a story, I promise.
It's got a pretty cool name. Like, it sounds like something that could be like a Japanese battle cry.
It's supposed to sound like a rock and roll.
Really?
Because rock and roll needs to be in more literature. Do you know the term heavy metal actually comes from literature? It was originally coined by an author in the 1960s before Steppenwolf said it. I don't remember the author now, off the top of my head. There was a character named such and such, the heavy metal kid, and that's where the term heavy metal came from.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. I think of Rikaiju as something you should be like, Rikaiju! I think everyone should say it like that.
I may have to start implementing that at the conventions.
Yes. Say it like a samurai having a stick shoved up his rectum.
I'm leaving that statement alone. You do what you do on your own time when you're a Harris Teeter. I'm so much less comfortable with that. Anyway, Kung Fu Panda.
Right, that's what we're here for. 4 minutes later, we're talking about the movie Kung Fu Panda. I absolutely love Kung Fu Panda, and the soundtrack of which plays in every kid's class. That's my kind of background. Ambiance music is the soundtracks to all 3 Kung Fu Panda movies. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the movies. There's a lot of like offshoot TV shows and one-off spin-offs kind of thing. But we're going to be talking about the movie today, though. We're going to be talking about the first movie because there's a whole lot to it, okay? The first Kung Fu Panda actually came out in 2008. And that's actually a huge year, not just for cinema, but for me, because in cinema, we'll start with cinema, that was also the year that Iron Man came out. Okay, so the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe was launched in that year. Okay, it was also the same year that The Dark Knight came out. Okay, then that's the Christopher Nolan Batman movie that had Heath Ledger in it as the Joker.
This is the last good DC movie. I hear the comments in the message in the messages down below starting already.
I like the third one.
It was all right. It was there.
You have my permission to die.
Look, we could go into all the look at. I hear people typing "release the Snyder Cut" already. Let's just move on. What else happened in 2008?
2008, the Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull came out, which was
a lot better than people give it credit for.
Yeah, it was critically panned by a lot of people, but it made a crap ton of money.
Well, yeah, and like the first half, 2/3 of it is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Get up to the Russian camp in the Amazon, and up to that point, it's.
Yeah, when you started swinging through the jungle on the vines, that's when you start to lose me.
Yeah, but up to that point.
Honestly, though, I think I might be the only one. I love the whole nuking the fridge idea. It's like, I know it's totally impossible. We're talking Indiana Jones, people.
I don't understand why people got so up in arms about that whole thing. Like, it's okay for a box to melt the face off of Nazis, but the idea that a person could survive a nuclear blast by hiding inside a lead-lined fridge, like, that honestly doesn't seem that implausible to me. And again, it's Indiana Jones.
Got a movie about the skulls of aliens.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
really, guys. I just love that phrase came out of it. You know, just the whole, we're nuking the fridge, guys. It's just, that's funny as crap.
In all honesty, like, even understanding concussions and the impact of being rattled around and all that, I honestly thought it was kind of clever. Like, and then I saw online, and like, we as a community had apparently decided it wasn't. Yeah.
Anyways, that's 2008.
Right.
It was also the third highest grossing film that came out.
Kung Fu Panda, not Indiana Skull.
Yeah, sorry. Bad segue on my part. Kung Fu Panda, the thing we're talking about, the subject here, it was the third highest grossing domestically. Globally, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Domestically, I think it was like 7 or 8.
Right. It's still top 10.
Yeah. The number one overall is The Dark Knight. I mean,
right.
That's number one globally, number one domestically.
It was a masterpiece.
Yes, so it was a great year for cinema.
Yes.
Like I said, it's a important year for me because it has a lot relating to me. That was the two really good things and two really bad things. Start with the bad first, man. I was diagnosed with cancer that year, so I'm never going to forget that year. It was bad. If you do whatever you can to not get cancer, it sucks. And that's a whole nother podcast. I can deep dive in that, or you can go to my bio on the website.
There's a tkfmma.com.
Yeah, there's a nice little link to a GoFundMe site where you can learn more about it, and you can also get a list of charities that I like to give to whenever I can. So if you give to me, that allows me to give to them. Or you can just bypass the middleman and give to them. I'm okay with either way. So 2008, I got cancer. It's also the same year that my grandfather passed away. So it was a kind of a bummer year. But like I said, two really good things that happened. Both my nieces were born in that year. So I'm like, I love my nieces, man.
They're awesome.
They are. And he hasn't even met them.
It's
and
true.
He knows this. Right? They're that awesome.
I met your sister and your brother-in-law. They're cool.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he's met one of them.
There we go.
Okay, I got two. They're good.
No, I didn't meet the nieces.
You
I
didn't
just met your sister and your brother-in-law.
I thought you met the one niece. Never
No,
mind.
I'm just saying, I see the stock that they're coming from, so clearly, you know.
Yeah. So, anyways, back
Kung
to
Fu
Kung Fu
Panda.
Panda. Yes. That movie was actually directed by two guys, John Stevenson and Mark Osborne. It was produced by DreamWorks. I've actually had a number of people who thought the movie was produced by Pixar, which tells you how awesome Pixar is, that everyone thinks that any animated film that was good came from Pixar. But no, it came from DreamWorks.
Nope.
It took 4 years for them to produce. They spent 4 years researching and trying to make this the best movie possible, and it was awesome. Everything about that is incredibly awesome.
Now, we need to take a second here to point out, so this is his favorite movie, one of your favorite movies of all time.
I have a lot of favorite movies.
I have not seen it before in my life until earlier today.
kind of forced him to watch it.
You did not I would not say you forced me, but I am very comfortable with you saying that you forced me. And so I had never seen it before. I'd heard many great things about it, but I sat down to watch it. Me and my wife were going to watch it because she'd seen clips of it. So, yeah, so you're dealing with a very long-term fan and a new fan, but most certainly a fan. Because it's really good.
It really is. Like, we'll start with the animation aspect of it. It is a combination of 3D animation, that's the primary thing, but there's 2D animation in the same vein as, like, Japanese anime. And it is really good. The color palette there is amazing, and they use that to a great effect in that they differentiate between the dream sequences, which is the anime, the 2D stuff, and what is considered real in their world, which is the 3D animation. And they play so much around with the visual storytelling and the use of colors. It's amazing. To that end, it's also an incredibly beautiful movie. They use matte paintings, which is something that I feel like 3D animation has gotten away from that nowadays. But back in the day, to really make the backgrounds look amazing, they use these matte paintings, and some of them are incredibly great. In fact, one of them I think actually it's from Kung Fu Panda 2. It's a screenshot of one of their background.
Of the monastery and the peach tree.
Yeah, and peach tree, and I have that as the desktop wallpaper for my computer. Has been for the last several years. I've been using Kung Fu Panda in the background of my kids' classes for about 6.5 years. Long time. Absolutely love those films. They are so incredibly well made. The first one was so well made, in fact, that it actually impressed the people of China. It impressed Chinese people to the point where the Chinese government had meetings to discuss why they haven't produced something as culturally relevant or as good as that. They were like, how did these people do our stuff better than us? It's just so good. There's so much in that movie. And like I said, if a true Chinese person says, hey, this is good, then that's like your mark. If you're a white guy like me and a Chinese person says, you've got this, I'm like, cool. That's where I'm going. And you said you saw it for the first time.
I saw it the first time this morning.
Is there any key things you picked up on it before you dive into the story?
Nothing else that immediately jumps out to me. I was impressed by how little the actors of the story. I was very grateful nobody tried to affect a Chinese accent. I was so afraid because the cast is predominantly white. There's of the named actors, of the named performers.
Yeah, that's true.
There's one black person,
Michael Clark
Duncan, who's really funny in it.
He's
quite funny.
They wanted a big booming voice, and I don't fault them at all.
No. And they did. There are several Asians in the cast.
Jackie Chan, Lucy Liu,
James Hong, and Randall Duck Kim, I believe his name is.
Yeah, Randall Kim.
He plays Oogway.
I love Oogway.
Yeah. Oh man, he's terrific.
Yes.
He's an ancient turtle, and but everybody else in the cast is white, which immediately, since this is Hollywood, had me afraid. But they affected themselves very, very well. And when we're talking about the production, I do want to talk about James Hong and Randall Kim. Randall Kim, for those of you who probably don't recognize the name, and it's understandable, probably his most visible role is the Keymaker in the second Matrix movie.
I didn't know that.
That was him. This is one of the most accomplished Asian actors in North America. If you look at his stage experience, it is phenomenal. He has played in just about every Shakespeare play. Phenomenal stuff. And yes.
Well, the thing I want to point out is he's an actor, not a martial arts actor. So there's plenty of those. Jackie Chan is one of them. They're all good.
Yep.
But he got his start as an actor and is an actor. He was an actor all the way through. It wasn't like he started as a stuntman like Jackie Chan and then became the actor later on.
Right.
He is a true, from the very beginning, actor.
And he's a stage actor. He's only made forays into screen acting kind of when the opportunity was there, but he's always been a stage actor. His Shakespeare work is just phenomenal. He's the first Asian, I think he's Asian American, or he may be like Asian Canadian, but he's like the first person to headline major Shakespearean productions in North America, and very, very accomplished. The other person is James Hong. Everybody knows James Hong.
Yeah,
if you don't
he's
recognize
great.
the name, he plays Poe's father, who we'll talk about in a second. He's usually the Chinese restaurant owner. If you're a classical film fan, you probably know him as David Lopan from Big Trouble in Little China. Phenomenal character actor, and he's one of those people that has just an incredibly long filmography that is full of really great performances, often in really bad movies. But he himself is one of the unsung heroes of American cinema, and he is a national treasure. And he's only a small role in this, but man, he's really, really good. But I really wanted to call attention to that. I love James Hong. I'm a big fan of his, and Randall Kim as well. People focus on Jack Black and Dustin Hoffman in this movie for very good reason.
Oh, yeah.
Jack Black is tremendous. Dustin Hoffman, you will be forgiven for not knowing that's him. But
He better be, because he didn't know. It
yeah,
was
I
him
didn't either.
until
I
he
didn't
watched
realize it was Dustin Hoffman until I
Yeah.
saw the credits. Like, holy crap!
Yeah.
But this is an excellent performance. My one problem with the movie on a whole is Angelina Jolie. Again, I haven't seen any of the other movies. She plays Tigress, who is a supporting character, and Angelina Jolie is okay in this movie. And I think it is a testament to her as an excellent actor that she doesn't really have a lot to work with. She doesn't really have a lot to sink her teeth into as a performer, and she still does well. Her scenes where she's relaying the tale of the tiger, Jaifeng,
the snow leopard.
the snow leopard,
Kai
Kai Long, yeah. When she's recounting him, great performance, solid performance.
Long.
Tai Lung.
Kai doesn't appear until the third.
I apologize.
It is confusing because they're
yeah.
literally like a pin stroke apart. But Kai technically appears in the very first part in the dream sequence.
Oh, does he?
Of this movie.
Uh-huh.
He is like the main villain in the sort of the Poe fights.
Okay.
But he doesn't have any dialogue, so he's not actually cast by a person. But that is the actual look and portrayal of Kai. So talk about some major foreshadowing.
Well, if we're going to talk about foreshadowing, let's just dive right into the story. So,
well, we were talking about actors first. So
Mhm.
I did want to actually make a point
Go
in
for
that Angelina Jolie, in my opinion, falls into the categories of actors and actresses that are exceptionally good if they're given something exceptionally good to work with.
Mhm.
Right? They're not the kind of person that adds a whole lot to their role. That being said, Jack Black is the exact opposite, in that the character of Poe was not what he portrayed, was not what was written for him. In fact, he made it better, and that's kind of what I like in as far as really good character actors.
Mhm.
They can bring in these subtle nuances and how to say things and how to relate things that
Right.
isn't actually on the page. And so they're adding a whole lot to it. And you can kind of see this with a lot of different actors. You can see like movies where it's like, oh, this is Matt Damon playing this guy, or this guy, or this guy. It's always going to be Matt Damon doing something. Or you can have, on the other end, Robert Downey Jr., where it's like, you don't think Robert Downey Jr., you think Tony Stark, you think Sherlock Holmes. You know, he's always kind of like a chameleon in that he becomes that person, right? And so, like you said, what's that guy's name who's
Jim
in...
Hong.
No, the... oh, gosh, I forgot his name. The Mexican guy.
Luis Goodman.
Yes. He's one of those guys who can just become so much integral into his role that nobody actually knows who he is. They just think of the role. And that's what I look at as far as actors. But like I said, I'm not distracting from all these other actors. They're great. It's just they really need something great on the page first.
And we're not bashing Angelina Jolie. She does a fine job with what she's got to work with.
I'll be honest. I've got half of her filmography at home. You know, I love her movies.
Yeah.
She was the original female heroine before there was one. You know. Okay. Sideways. We're going back to the story.
Right.
There's just so much to this film. I love this movie, and it actually starts with a really good quote that Uguay says, that where one often meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it. And it's that kind of self-fulfilling prophecy that backfires on what your actions do, and it really does tie into the overall theme of the film, which is kind of belief. Um, the whole all the actions that occur only happen because the person believes that they're going to happen. So basically, what it is that Oogway tells Master Shifu that Tai Lung's going to escape, and that they need the Dragon Warrior to defeat him. Right? Well, Master Shifu believes that, so much so that he sends a messenger played by
Dan Fogler.
Yeah.
Who you may recognize as, I can't remember his name now, which is very embarrassing, the Muggle in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the new Harry Potter franchise, or Harry Potter adjacent franchise. That's Dan Fogel. That's the messenger that gets sent to the prison.
So he gets sent to the prison. His very act of being there allows Tai Lung to escape. All right, so literally, if Sifu didn't believe that this could happen and just went about his day, this whole movie would have never really taken place. And I see that happen all the time with people trying to prevent something and inherently just causing that same thing they're trying to prevent. It's almost a very easy writing thing, in my opinion.
What?
Yeah. But it made for a really good story. That's how the whole thing kicks off, is all about belief. And like I said, belief is kind of the main theme in this movie. And I think it's phenomenal that they teach that to kids, right? The big thing in belief is that Po has to believe that he can be the Dragon Warrior, that he has to believe in himself, believe that he can learn Kung Fu. And everything about this whole thing is, it comes down to him believing in himself. All right, if he doesn't do that, he's not going to win. That's really much like in sports like 90% mental, right? If you think you're going to fail, if you think you're going to lose, you're probably going to lose, right? So you have to keep in your mind that I'm going to do my absolute best, and winning is a result. You know, there is no losing in sport. There's like winning and learning, right? And you have to keep that mindset about it. Otherwise, it's not going to work out too well for you. So you have him having to believe in himself, and then you have Master Shifu believing that he can teach Po.
He also has to. Shifu has to believe in himself as well. The two characters very much take the same path down this way. One is empowered, one is not, but they're still going in the same direction, and it's a wonderful parallel that you have. And even Master Shifu realizes this at the end, which is phenomenal. Yeah, belief.
Yeah, he had to believe that Po can be the Dragon Warrior and that he can get him there. And part of doing that was that realization is that one of the quotes they said, it was the duck who said it, Poe's dad, was that the secret...
Hang on. Let's take a step back. So, Poe is raised by his adopted father.
Oh yeah, I need to put this in context.
Yeah. Poe is raised by his adopted dad, who is a duck who runs a noodle shop. And one day he hopes to teach Poe the secret ingredient for his secret ingredient soup. Poe aspires to be other things, as Poe aspires to be a great hero, and that's how he ends up to be in the right place, to be determined to be the Dragon Warrior. Now, again, speaking of dual stories at play here, Poe is going to learn the same lesson twice. Once from a great magical artifact that Master Shifu and Oogway have. And he's going to learn the same lesson from his dad. And it's really, really lovely. And that lesson...
I don't think it really solidifies in his brain until his dad says it. And that's the thing that rings true. And he says that the secret to his secret ingredient soup is that there is no secret. Okay? And that to simply make something special is just to believe that it is special, right? And simply calling it that. And I have that same mentality with a lot of things that I do and how I teach people. Like, for me, getting, say, a rank in a school isn't so much about what you can do physically. It's what you do up here, right? And the easiest way to get a rank is to believe and think and operate like you already have it. And that plays out in a lot of things in life, man. Even sneaking into places, like if you just believe that you're supposed to be there, nobody's going to say anything.
Well, and the idea of assigning value to things being the manner in which you empower them is also important. Like, if you want a black belt in a martial art, buy a black belt, sew the name of the martial art on the black belt, there you go. But that's not what makes it a black belt. But I mean, you can buy a black belt for what, $4, something like that.
Depends on who you get it
But
to.
it's, I
But
mean-
I've made the joke several times that I'm a black belt and CMA under Clinton Brazil, and really CMA is Century Martial Arts. Clinton Brazil is the guy I talk to when I order stuff. And he's okay with me saying that reference too. I asked him about it. I was like, hey man, because I've been talking to him for like 2 or 3 years to the point where I asked for him. I was like, hey, is Clinton there? Okay, cool. Let me get my order in and see like, how's it doing, man? Clinton's awesome, by the way. And Central Martial Arts, pretty cool stuff. They're not paying us, they're not sponsoring us, but I'm just giving them a nice shout out as far as you want equipment. Even better, come to Tactical Kung Fu. We can get it wholesale, so it'll be cheaper.
So,
anyways.
Yeah,
back to black belts.
But it is really fun to see to see Poe learning these lessons, these great kung fu masters teaching him a lesson, but also his dad at this noodle shop actually teaching him the exact same lesson. That struck me as important. Watching this movie, it did kind of bother me a little bit. They had this glorification of this great grand hero's journey, which is good stuff. I'm not knocking that. But I also enjoy seeing the glorification of the mundane, of the routine. And it's very easy to miss that. That dad, little noodle shop owner who's all excited about the different ways you cut vegetables for soup, had the same wisdom, the same knowledge as Master Oogway. And it's a shame they didn't meet, because I think Master Oogway would have loved his dad.
Oh yeah, or at least loved the food.
Oh, certainly.
What's interesting is the actual term. So we're kind of getting into the terminology, which, by the way, we probably should have said this before we got 20 minutes or so into this, but we're spoiling this 10-year-old movie.
Good point.
Yeah, I totally forgot to mention that. I mean, if you haven't seen Kung Fu Panda yet, after a decade, watch this film. It's amazing.
It's
and
really good.
Really not spoiling it, because like you can know every single thing, and you really probably after the end of this podcast, you will know every single part of that movie.
It won't make a
You'll
difference.
still want to watch it.
There were no surprises for me, having seen this many kung fu movies and kids shows and everything else. I saw everything that was going to happen. I knew what was going to be, what the secret was, and the dragon scroll. The minute it had no effect. It's still a gorgeous movie. It's still really fun. It's still very well made, very well acted. All of it.
Back to the Kung Fu. Kung Fu is really kind of a modernized usage of the words. Kung Fu does not relate to just martial arts. Back in the day, the person with the best Kung Fu in China was actually a cook. It was Po-Stat, right? Kung Fu just means skill, and you can have skill in typing, in writing, accounting, cooking. It just, Kung Fu is not synonymous with just martial arts. Martial arts, I think, is wushu, okay, but because of modern society, now Kung Fu is associated entirely with martial arts.
One of the ways I like to distinguish it is Kung Fu. I've always liked the definition of Kung Fu as hard work applied over time to learn a skill, and that's Kung Fu. And the idea that makes Kung Fu less about techniques and more about work ethic, and more about your willingness to put in the hours to learn stuff. And I feel that is a wonderful lesson that they don't illustrate in the movie. And that is, anybody can learn how to punch and kick. Anybody can learn how to do a rear naked choke or any number of things. But you don't learn Kung Fu. Kung Fu is cultivated by those around you. The techniques are ancillary to the willingness and the desire to put in the effort to learn them.
And that work ethic actually kind of brings into something that my grandfather used to always tell me, which was, you can do anything any other man can as long as you try hard enough. As long as you believe that you can do that and you work towards it, and you'll be able to do that. There's no reason why. Again, this whole thing is about belief, but it's also about looking at things in a slightly different manner. Because Sifu, in order to teach Po martial arts, he had to think out of the box. He realized halfway through that he could not teach Po the same way he taught other people. He had to literally take him out of the box and take him to a different site in order to teach him Kung Fu. And what's really cool is that the
teach him martial arts.
Huh?
Teach him martial arts.
Teach him martial arts. Teach him how to punch and kick. He had to take him out of the training hall, which in Chinese we refer to as kun, right? They don't refer to it directly in the movie. Dialogue just didn't happen to mention that, but that's their terminology for it. He literally had to take him someplace else, take him out of that setting to really think in a different way, to make Po the best Po he could, to make him work at it. So it wasn't a case of conforming yourself to the martial art, but making the martial art conform to you, to make you the best person possible, so that he can be the Dragon Warrior, so that he can beat Tai Lung in the third act. And that is exactly the approach that is taken to tactical kung fu, and that, that's why we have so many martial arts, why we're mixed martial art, because we want to have something that is best for the individual. And it might take some time to find that. You might have to, hide the cookies on the top shelf.
Which is lovely.
Phenomenal scene.
And it's also a testament, again, one of the many things that's wonderful about this movie is the notion that children watching this, it's a way to introduce to them that a person who is an expert, who is a master, still has to learn. Shifu is a master of fighting. He knows all the punches, he knows all the kicks, he knows all the pressure points, he knows all the fun stuff, but he's not an expert at teaching Po. He has to learn how to do that. He's an expert at teaching tigers, he's an expert at teaching snake, but he's not an expert at teaching Po, and it's an intimidating task for him. He has to learn how to do that. And so it's wonderful to be able to teach a child that even the best of the best still have more to learn.
Always learning stuff, man. In my opinion, the moment you stop trying to improve yourself is the moment you start getting worse, right? So you're always learning, always adapting, because everybody's different, right? Until Po came along, Shifu had it locked down. He's like, everybody does everything the same way. But then there's this Panda, and it's totally different. It didn't fit within his little box. He had to come outside of that. And the reason why he came outside of that is because he made the decision to believe that it was possible. And that's a big thing. Again, going back to belief.
And not just to believe in Po. Not just to believe in his master who said, Po is the Dragon Warrior. To believe in himself that he could bring the best out of Po. Once he believed in himself, he was able to do what he needed to for Po. This is a wonderful lesson to teach children.
And one of the great things as an instructor, looking through Master Shifu's teaching and stuff like that, by making Po better, he made himself better. He brought himself the inner peace, which is another great thing that I think people don't realize, is that I don't make myself better by simply repping out and doing stuff. I make myself better by trying to make other people better. That's what has improved me a lot through martial arts, and I've taken that from not just martial arts, but to everything in life. I'm like, if I can make your life better, that's going to somehow make my life better. I don't know how, I don't care. My life is better. That's the thing. Same thing with martial arts, man. And that's true in this movie. By teaching Po martial arts, he made himself better. He found the inner peace that he has been looking for, which is also kind of a running gag throughout the entire movies, where they're all like meditating, going inner peace, inner peace.
Quit that flapping. It's flapping.
Oh, it gets better. You got to see the whole franchise, because that's a gag that keeps on going.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but again, we're only talking about the first movie because there is so much to unpack in this first movie. There's a lot of really good stuff in this franchise. The last thing I'm going to talk about as far as the terminology is concerned, and something that they didn't specifically pick up or point out, but it is there, and that's one of the things that really impressive Chinese culture, that way back in the day, if a student wanted to learn a martial art from an instructor, they had to kind of earn their way to do it. They would spend years just working away, hard work, just to be able to learn a little bit, or just to be able to, sorry, got a cough, just to be able to call their instructor an instructor, like just to be able to say Sifu or Sensei or Master, right? And they structured a lot of their martial arts like some of the academic four-year schools, where they have like those freshman weed-out classes where you're in a class with like 600 other people. I was in a class with like 600 other people. It was crazy. Right?
Or the ones that are insanely hard just to try to discourage people from pursuing, their dream.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that in ancient Chinese martial arts where they had that. But one of the things as far as naming is concerned is that, again, you had to earn the right, the honor to say Sifu or master, to call your instructor by that name. And that's actually highlighted in this film. Right? He spends probably half the movie or so saying that he is not your master, and then he makes a choice. I am your master. I'm going to be your master. He picks Po, and that's something that is very similar. What I do here is that sometimes, a lot of times, actually, as far as ranks are concerned, I just look at someone like, you're going to be this belt because you're there mentally. You're acting like it. You believe that you were there, and so that very much highlights. But again, I don't think they played up that point or put it on there, but it's definitely there. And there's a really pivotal scene where he's like, "I am your master," and he points a staff at him. He's like, "You're going to call me this from now on." And also going back to names, the moment that Po gets the dragon scroll is the first moment in the film where Sifu calls Po. Beforehand,
that was
always calling him Panda. He's always calling him the Panda. All right, now he's calling him Po. He got to that point, so thought that was really cool.
It's beautifully done.
Yes. So I wanted to highlight that. Now we're going to talk about some of the martial arts in that because, again, all very accurate, and some of it just seriously
accurate in a
cuts.
wuxia sense.
Huh?
Accurate in a wuxia sense.
Wuxia.
Yeah, the wire fu.
Well,
that bridge fight, come on. It was awesome. It was great, but come on, dude. Or maybe do we get to that once I get my brown belt? Is that where I start learning that stuff?
Okay. Start to learn how to fly.
There we go. Okay, all right. I see.
But like that sequence, when the directors first asked the animation department to make that sequence, they're like, "No, we don't want to do it," and they realized like, "Oh, nobody has ever done this before. They have to figure it out." So it's an incredibly complex sequence.
I bet.
But it's still very cool. Now, some of the other aspects, like the pressure point fighting, we'll start with there. Pressure point is a big thing in Chinese. Chinese medicine is actually based on the pressure points and the meridian lines. There's a lot of them.
108.
Yes.
108 points that connect the human body to the universe around it. In fact, you'll see the numbers 36 and 18 repeated quite a bit in many martial arts, especially the ones that come from a Chinese and Shaolin lineage. The reason for that is because of 108, 36 is 108 is divisible by, or 108 is divisible by 36, and 18, that kind of stuff. 18 hands of Lo Hakun, that sort of thing. And so that's where it comes from. 18 seizing hands. It's simply divisible by 108, which is a sacred number in the Buddhist traditions because of the pressure points, because of the meridians.
Yeah.
So, yeah. By the way, also real quick, so this can become a contentious point in martial arts. Pressure points, are they real? Yes. They are objectively, unquestionably real. But like everything else you see in cinema and see in fiction, what they are is based off of anatomy and physics, not magic. There is no Dimmock pressure point to kill a person with one touch. I'm sorry, Count Dante.
Yeah, I have a theory on that. I think that is totally legend. Like, I think that, because I've seen people, or I haven't seen people, I know people who have had some kind of medical condition that they didn't know about, that were hit in a certain way, and it caused a much drastic and more tragic reaction than what it should have. And so I think that might have been the case, is where a dude went for a pressure point on somebody who already had some kind of medical condition, maybe like a heart problem or whatever like that, and it caused his heart spasm or xiphoid spasm, and he had a heart attack and passed away. And back in the day, nobody was willing to try that out because they didn't want to die. They were like, oh my gosh, he touched the dude and he died.
Well, you've seen Cinderella Man, haven't you? The boxing movie with,
yes.
So Max Baer, who was the villain in Cinderella Man, it's a Russell Crowe movie about a boxer in the Depression era. Max Baer killed a man in the ring. That's actually not entirely true. He punched the guy and he died in the hospital a couple of days later. The thing is that guy had suffered an accident or a tragic beating, something, and everything in his skull and in his brain was primed. All it took was the right pressure at the right spot. that kind of crap. And so, yeah, that will totally lead to that kind of thing, and that's medically documented.
Yeah, so if that happened back in the day when they
Right.
didn't have any kind of medication to determine how the person died,
Right.
then a lot of ignorant people are going to believe, oh, he just died because you touched him in a certain area. That must be a death touch.
Right.
So I think it has to do more with legend based on this one anecdotal evidence thing where, like, I happened to hit him, he fell over. But, I mean, he is right. It does kind of highlight, though, with the pressure points and how they use them. They acknowledge the fact that they don't often work on every single person the exact same way because everybody's different, right? And so, like, sometimes the points that I have are not going to be located in the same places that he has. Sometimes I may not even have them at all.
And the pressure points that work for one person won't work at another person. So, like, if I have a pressure point here and I press into it really hard, it doesn't do anything. I can maybe press here on him and it works great. And the idea that they're all going to be universal, they're all going to have the same reaction, they're all going to have the same magnitude of reaction. That's not the case. That's why we have multiples.
Yeah, it's just why you always have to have different options for different things, because it's really not that simple.
Right.
Like, if you were to hold out his hand, okay, and I grab his hand and I do this whooshy finger hold, right? I can sit here and be like, skadoosh, 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 it's not working, skadoosh, skadoosh, skadoosh. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad technique. It just might mean that it doesn't work on people who have less hair.
It's true.
Right? I might totally be able to take out a Wookiee with this thing, like skadooshum, skadooshum, right? And it'd be perfectly valid on that, but not necessarily on a person no hair. And it's that simple. It could be something as little as that. Like I said, doesn't mean the technique is bad. It just means you have to know when to use it, where to use it, and how to use it, right?
And what to do if it only works halfway.
Yeah. Well, then in that case, you just pick up and drop kick them.
That too.
Right? And, if they're an Ewok, you can totally do that from the get-go. You don't even have to wishy finger hold them.
Let's get away from the Ewoks. But yeah,
they didn't help anybody at all. So I shouldn't bring them into this.
But apparently, this primitive culture still had mastery of great cosmetological skills. Excuse me. Anyway, so the martial arts in Kung Fu Panda are really, really. Seriously, Leia comes out of that thing. Her hair has been washed and braided. Let's not get. Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, we're going to the wrong franchise.
Yeah, lots of beautiful stuff. If you have any background in Shaolin martial arts or Shaolin derivative martial arts, you will see stances, you will see techniques that are very, very familiar all throughout, and a lot of the same principles that come in.
Another really great principle, and they actually talk about this early on in film, and I didn't realize that I got this from film. I think maybe subconscious because I've seen it so many times. Which
is understandable. It's a good movie.
Oogway says that Sifu has to let go the illusion of control. And I say that all the time. All the time.
It's true. Especially when you're paying your tuition.
Yeah. So it's letting go of the things that you can't control and a different way of thinking. So if I grab Robert and I'm using my thumb and grabbing him, I might think that I have control, but he also has control of me. Probably more so depending on how hard I hold on to that. So if he pulls his hand back, I go forward, right? If I don't grab him, if I have the thumb over here and he pulls his hand back, I'm here. Bam, right? And so anytime I'm grabbing somebody...
Hang on. Pause it. Stop what you're doing. Minimize the other windows. Maximize this window because we know you're just listening to this and not actually watching it. Rewind back about 3 minutes to watch that little display, and then you can re-maximize your windows. Continue.
That's why I have him around. Because he has the reality of this. Like, nobody's actually watching us.
You're working over here on this screen and just occasionally checking in to see if something else has happened, to see if you finally won that auction on eBay, something like that.
Did Jeremy tell you that you got him on that? Yeah. He's actually watching one of our episodes at work.
With his screen minimized and everything. And,
Yes.
I hear you.
But like I said, the illusion of control is...
Hi, Jeremy, by the way.
Yes. Is stressing about things that you actually can't control, right? And you just, like, I don't stress about gas prices. They're going to be what they are. I'm going to pay them regardless of what they is. I can't stress about it. I can't complain about it. There's nothing I can do about it. What I can do is drive a car less. All right, so it's focusing on different things. Everything can always be better, could always be worse. It's how you choose to look at it that's going to determine whether you're happy in life. That's my opinion on things. Now, like I said, illusion of control, love it. I use it all the time, especially when it comes to grabbing somebody. And so it's just, again, thinking out of the box. Another thing in this movie is that I'm thinking about it in a different way as far as how to grab them and what kind of grabbing.
So just to talk about the illusion of control and thinking outside the box. So there's a scene where Master Oogway comes and talks to Poe. Poe is heartbroken and he's at the peach tree.
Peach tree of wisdom.
Yeah, eating his feelings. And Oogway comes along.
Eating a lot of his feelings.
Yeah. Poe is lamenting, saying, "I think I did worse than anybody's ever done in the history." Probably. He doesn't even argue with him, which is completely antithetical to what you think this pep talk is supposed to be. They probably hate me. They do. And it's delightfully honest.
Yeah.
Because you see these wise figures in traditional literature and traditional fiction who contest everything. I did terribly. No, you just didn't. You don't have the right paradigm. And he's straight up honest. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
And that kind of honesty about it is so atypical, so antithetical to what you're used to seeing. But again, it comes back to outside the box and really more the idea of being honest with yourself and honest with the world around you. And surrendering the illusion of control.
Exactly. And looking at it differently. Yeah, you can always look at all the negative stuff, and then you're going to be negative. That's not fun. I'm going to look at something positive. So last thing I want to talk about is actually there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot in this movie. I want to talk about the fighting style of Poe. And this came up in my research, and I did a whole lot of research on this. Apparently, Poe's fighting style is based on the bear style Kung Fu, which is an actual thing. It's kind of obscure, but it's an actual thing. And the animators actually had to do Kung Fu lessons.
That's
prior
awesome.
So they had to really get a good understanding of how people are moving in space and what they're actually doing. And so I had to look into the bear style because I was like, I don't know this. I mean, my own...
I didn't think there was one. I honestly hadn't heard of it before now.
There are really styles for every different kind of animal.
I understood that, but... Come on, raccoon style.
Well, they have something similar. I think it's a rat style. So there's a rat, which comes from the Chinese zodiac, the year of the rat. Technically, I'm a rat. Yeah.
Splinter was a rat.
He was. Splinter was
go.
Cool.
There you go.
Hey, 6 degrees of separation. Boom. Anyways, back to the bear style. I wasn't familiar with this at all. In fact, the Kung Fu that I have in, okay, Xiaojiang Kung Fu, we have a 5-animal system. Okay, it's the dragon, the mantis, the crane, tiger, and viper. So pretty much what's in the movie minus monkey, which is sad because I like Monkey.
And he's played by Jackie Chan.
He has that signature Jackie Chan flying sidekick. They specifically added that in there because he was playing the character. But anyway, so we have dragon instead of monkey, but no bear, right? So I had to look into bear a lot, and what I found was very interesting. They use a lot of whole body movements, right? Some circular movements, a lot of very fast movements. Okay, they spring and explode forward. I was actually thinking this would probably be a perfect style for Master Jeff, because he's a big, scary dude. He's
he probably knows it.
He's 300 pounds of powerlifting muscle, and watching him run across the mat it's a frightening thing to behold. Yeah.
Especially when he's in armor swinging a broadsword.
Oh.
Or...
I'll get him on the podcast, and he'll explain that.
He's currently competing professionally in armored combat.
And he's slimmed down a little bit so he can fit into that armor. But like I said, I'll get him to explain that because that is a whole separate thing. It's still cool, whole separate thing. Anyways, back to the bear style. It's very much about the shoulders, right, and having them relaxed. And like I said, moving with this big circular movements, the whole body, the whole torso moving, not a whole bunch of high kicks, which leads me kind of to believe that this is more of a southern style because they're not big on the high kicks, but there are kicks in that, they're just not big kicks. One of the other things that it does, and I do this without even thinking about it because my right side sucks, so I use my left side a whole lot, is that they block and hit almost with the same hands. It's not the same strikes, not simultaneous, but it's not like block, punch. It's going to be block, punch kind of deal. And so they have a whole lot of that as far as the hand that is actually blocking is striking and vice versa. So like I said, very cool. It is a very powerful style, like I said, very explosive. It is often paired with the eagle style, which is kind of why I think a lot of people don't know about it, because they associate maybe eagle and bear as just being eagle. And
I would just kind of assume those were both salmon eaters.
What?
Eagles and bears, but at least in North America, they both eat salmon. So maybe that's what brought them together. They were out having some sushi.
The main difference between some of these is not just the movements that they're using, it's how they're using movements. In the bear style, it's all about hitting. It's all attacking, it's moving forward, it's progressing forward, is this continuous movement, and they're doing open palm strikes, whereas the eagle, what separates that from bear and from a lot of other styles is that they'll do the strike, but then they'll latch on and they'll grab. So you have your T-knots, your pressure point manipulations, your elbow breaks and stuff like that within the eagle style. That's why they're paired together. It's like a bear, I'm going to strike you, and then eagle's like, I'm then going to grab you and break you, kind of thing. And so that's the difference. It's not the hand position. Hand positioning could be exactly the same, or often it is. It's just like, I'm going to hit, this is bear, now it's eagle. All right, so it's just the difference in the techniques. It's like the eagle's going to be grabbing you and pulling you and breaking you in some way, shape, or form. Whereas the bear is just like, I'm going to hit you. Okay, so
that's going to be enough.
Yeah, and it really, it's more for the bigger people who can just do that, because there are like Jeff. If Jeff wanted to, he's a 300-pound man. Actually, he's a little bit less now. He lost 60 pounds.
Yeah, he's 280 something.
Yeah. He's still a big dude. Like, if he wanted to, he could hit me as hard as he wants, and I would just fold in half.
Well, see, Ben, this is also the thing about going back to learning the styles and learning who you are teaching. So there's an expression in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Same thing, and you have to know the context of these techniques. If you're a 5-foot-tall, 140-pound person, if you're surrounded by 6-foot-tall, 300-pound people, you're going to need those eagle techniques. But if you're surrounded by a bunch of 4-foot, 100-pound people, like maybe, I don't know, you decided you need to pick a fight with a bunch of half-pint luchadors, all of a sudden, now you need to know the bear techniques. And this is where knowing your student and knowing the context and the environment they're going to be in comes into play. Jiu-Jitsu loves to talk about the gi, and people who pick on Jiu-Jitsu say, oh, gi training's not realistic. Well, how often do you walk around wearing a shirt? How often do you walk around wearing a jacket? Suddenly, all those gi techniques start to make a lot more sense if you're going to grab somebody's jacket. Context is a big thing in martial arts.
Yep, totally. And so that's the majority of my information. I mean, granted, I found this out by doing two things. One, I watched the movie a lot. Okay, that's all my research for the most part, is I watch movies, and I did whole bunch of Googling and stuff like that. As far as some of the martial arts is concerned, I already know most of that stuff because I have some awesome instructors. Mainly, like I said, Master Barnes, my Kung Fu guy, right? And I get him one here at some point.
That's Jeff, by the way, that we keep calling Master Barnes.
Master Barnes.
That's Jeff.
And so, like, that's the bulk of my research. And, you're welcome to leave comments about anything, because we're open books. We like knowledge. Anything is good. One of the things I will talk about is that in researching this, I did something that I've never done, and that's I watched the director's commentary for the film. And that angers me to no end. I don't like that, because the thing is, if you think about DVDs and home video, it's to kind of reclaim the experience that you had going to the theater. I mean, people like pop popcorn to turn off the lights, and so they can get around their TV, and this reclaim the theater experience. In the theater, they literally spend thousands of dollars on ads telling you specifically, do not talk on the phone. Like, turn your phone off, right? Because it's been shown that if your phone rings, you got to answer it, and they don't want you talking and having a conversation while the movie is going. So for me, watching the commentary is really hard because they're literally talking through every single minute of the film, and I'm just like, I want to enjoy the film. But luckily, I'd seen that film so many times, I didn't have to like. I can get past that. But man, it was.
I can imagine that.
It was rough. It was rough for me because I love movies. I love just kind of checking my brain and doing that. But like for research for this show, I'm gonna watch the commentary.
We appreciate your sacrifice.
It was bad. It just makes me angry. It makes me violent. I want to punch their teeth so far down their throat that they'll need a Listerine enema to prevent halitosis.
Good night, everybody.
On that note, Kung Fu Panda and butt jokes. Which actually,
I died a little inside when you did that.
There is one moment where Tai Lung says, "What are you gonna do to me? Sit on me?" When he's talking to Poe, and then about a minute later, they're falling down the stairs, and they do this close-up shot of Poe's butt just squishing his face. It's a great gag. I mean, there's so much visual humor in the film.
It is a gorgeous movie. It is beautifully framed. It is beautifully acted. It is beautifully put together. It is clearly a work of passion for many people involved.
4 years, man, and it paid off, man. They made something over $600 million. I mean,
the most important thing, more than the money, they made us happy. If you have not seen Kung Fu Panda, a person who has been loving it for a decade strongly recommends it. A person who has been loving it for not even 12 hours strongly recommends it.
You watched it this morning.
I did. And I was even late to class because I was finishing it. But it is definitely worth checking out. We may need to call it here.
I think so, because we're
almost at an hour.
About an hour, which is amazing. These things keep getting longer.
I know.
And
Weren't they supposed to be like 20 minutes?
I'm going to have to chop this one up, too. And
there it goes.
Do like chop suey on the Dragon Yawns. But if you're ever taking a long road trip, this is perfect.
Yeah.
You know, go to Wilmington and go to Bridgestone's before they close down for the fall.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about Wilmington and how it connects to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise, check out some of our earlier podcasts in the Dragon Yawn series.
Yeah, and it also relates to The Crow.
There we go.
Brandon Lee.
How? Check out the earlier episodes.
The very first one.
There we go.
Right? Okay, so I'm going to call this before the screen actually cuts off, because I said it cut off after an hour.
Good call.
So again, guys, we thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with us for an hour. I'm Sifu Mike.
I'm Robert Aldrich.
This has been Dragon Yawn, coming from Tactical Kung Fu and Mixed Martial Arts. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome, especially if you've listened this long. So
have a wonderful day.
Check us out next time. Be sure to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. All right.
See you then.
Bye. Skidoosh.